Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Behrens. Today I have your reading science lesson for Friday, October 23rd. The materials you will need are your science notebook, a pencil, and crayons or colored pencils. Our learning targets are: I can read nonfiction text for information, I can record information in my own words, and I can present information using a labeled diagram. Today we're going to be reading two articles that are about two of the organisms we will add to our aquarium. The first is titled Mosquito Fish, Strong Little Fish. And the second is titled Snails, a head at the end of a foot. I will be reading the article about mosquito fish to you. You will follow along with me as we read this one. When we are done, your job will be to read the article about snails independently. Before we start, let's set up our science notebook for our entry. Make sure you put the date in the corner. And we will title this Mosquito Fish and Snails. As we read, your job will be to find 5 interesting facts from each article and record them in your own words. Then, you will be drawing a labeled diagram of both organisms, mosquito fish and snails. In order to split my page and prepare for both of these articles, I am going to draw a line right across the middle like this. I'm going to use the top half for mosquito fish and the bottom half for snails. Let's get started. As we read, I'm going to keep an eye out for information that I think is interesting or important about mosquito fish. Mosquito fish, strong little fish. You may have seen guppies in aquaria before, but have you ever seen a mosquito fish? Mosquito fish look a lot like guppies, but in some ways they are different. Mosquito fish are strong little fish. They don't mind sudden changes or movements. They can survive a wide range of temperatures, from 4 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius. That's 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And they can live in almost any body of fresh water: lakes, ponds, ditches, streams, and even mud holes. That's why they'll do so well in your eco column. Do you remember what terra meant? Think of the word territory or terrarium. Mosquito fish are very territorial. They will fight off other types of fish in their tank. Remember this after the unit is over. What's in a name? The scientific name of the mosquito fish is Gambusia. It lives along the southeastern coast of the United States in places like North Carolina. How do you think the mosquito fish got its name? Well, feeding these fish is no problem at all. They like live food, like Elodia, the best. In lakes, they will eat beetles, but they are most famous for feeding on mosquito larvae. This immature form of mosquito wriggles around in the water. Before the larvae become adult mosquitoes and can fly away, the mosquito fish eat them. This helps lower the number of mosquitoes in the air. Do you know why this is important? It's important because mosquitoes can carry diseases. With fewer mosquitoes, there is less chance of spreading disease. No wonder this fish has been brought into more than 70 countries throughout the world. I'm going to pause and record a couple of facts that I thought were interesting or important from the article so far. The first thing that I took away from this top section, these first 3 paragraphs, was that mosquito fish are tough. They can survive a lot of different temperatures, they can live in a lot of different habitats, and they are territorial. I'm going to put that information in my own words and write it in my notebook. Number 1. Mosquito fish are tough. They are territorial. I thought that was interesting. The second fact I want to write down is that mosquito fish can live in a lot of different habitats. Next, there was some interesting information in these 3 paragraphs as well. One fact that the article mentioned that I thought sounded really important was that mosquito fish get their name because they eat mosquito larvae. And that actually helps lower the chance of spreading disease because mosquitoes carry diseases. So I want to include that in my entry as well. Mosquito fish lower the chance of spreading disease because they eat mosquito larvae or baby mosquitoes. Notice that I'm not copying exact sentences out of the article. Instead, after I have read a section, I think to myself, what stuck out? And then I go back and double check that information and write that information in my own words. Let's continue reading about mosquito fish. Who's who? The mosquito fish in your aquarium will be either adult males, adult females, or immature fry, young mosquito fish. As you observe them, try to figure out which kinds you have. Notice, too, the characteristics all mosquito fish share. Their bodies are covered with protective scales that overlap like roof tiles or shingles. Use your hand lens to see them better. I will be posting a picture of a mosquito fish for you to observe. They have large round eyes and see very well. They have a dark line called the lateral line running the length of their bodies. The lateral line is made up of sensitive nerve endings that detect pressure in the water. Like all fish, they breathe by pumping water through their mouth and over their gills. How many times a minute does your fish breathe? The adult male mosquito fish grows to a length of 3.5 centimeters, or 1.5 inches. He is usually a pale gray color. Sometimes he will have a faint blue color that looks like shiny metal when light hits it. His body is slim, and his tail is round. The dorsal fin and tail often are marked with rows of tiny dark dots. Females, mosquito fish or guppy. The female looks a little different from the male. She is much larger than the male and can grow up to 6 centimeters or 2.5 inches long. Like the male, she is a drab grayish blue color, but she may have a black spot on her tail. Her fins and tail are rounded, and her body is plump. Like the male, her dorsal fin and tail may have rows of tiny dark dots. The dots in the tail are the only difference between the female mosquito fish and the female guppy. Otherwise, they look alike. When the female is pregnant, her abdomen becomes very swollen. A black spot, called the gravid spot, appears on each side of her body or just above the rear fin. She may have as few as 3 fry, or she may have over 200 at one time, but that is very rare. An average number of fry is 40 to 50. Mosquito fish are live bearers. This means their fry are born alive and fully formed. They are less than 1 centimeter or 1/4 inch at birth. They resemble females in that they are rounded and dull-colored, but they are more transparent. Can you think of a reason why dull coloring is an advantage for a baby fish? Like most live bearers, mosquito fish like to eat their fry. To survive, the baby fish swim immediately to plants for protection. Yet another reason why Elodea is important to your aquarium. Then they'll grow very quickly. Within a week or 2, they will be too large for their parents to swallow. Now I'm asking myself, what information stuck out to me as interesting or important from what I just read? One thing that stuck out to me on this page is that the males and the females look different. I'm going to write down something that describes that. Ooh, excuse me. Excuse me. Male and female mosquito fish look different. Now I need one more fact. One thing that I thought that was really interesting is that baby mosquito fish, or fry, use Elodea for protection. Okay. If you need more time to copy these facts into your notebook, pause the video now and catch up to where we are right now. If you are ready to move on, the next step will be drawing a labeled diagram of a mosquito fish in our science notebook. I'm going to use this drawing right here of a female as a model for the drawing that I'm going to do in my notebook. I'm going to put it in the top half of my notebook because the top half will be focused on mosquito fish. First, I'm going to start by drawing the outline of the mosquito fish. As I'm working on my drawing, you should be working on the drawing that you will write in your notebook of your mosquito fish. The eye looks kind of funny. I see that there's a fin there. Make that one look a little bit better. And the tail has some lines like that. And then there's a big black spot right here. And a line. Goes down like that. Okay, so the pieces that I have here, oh, I guess I need that too, include all of the important parts from this diagram, if you can see that. So my next step is that I need to make my drawing into a labeled diagram. This is what's going to give the person looking at the diagram information about what they see. So when I look at this right here, I notice that we have one thing labeled here, large eyes. So I'm going to look at my drawing, draw a line to the eye, and write large eyes. The next thing I want to label is the undershot jaw. Draw a line, undershot jaw. And I'm just going to continue labeling each of the important parts from this diagram on the one that I have drawn. We have gills, and the pectoral fin. Probably could have drawn my mosquito fish a little bit smaller to give myself more room to label, but that's okay. Next is the lateral line. And this is the gravid spot. And just one more, the dorsal fin. That one's right there. If you need more time to label your diagram, pause the video now and catch up to where we are in our notebook. If you are ready to move on, I'm going to explain your next job. Your job is to find this article, which is attached to this assignment in Schoology. It is titled Snails, a Head at the End of a Foot. You will read this article independently, and as you are reading, you will write down 5 important and interesting facts that you learn about snails. Write them down on the bottom half of your notebook, just like this. Once you have found 5 interesting and important facts about snails, your last job is to complete a labeled diagram drawing of a snail. Use this picture to copy and inspire the one that you put in your notebook. When you have completed each of those steps, take a picture of your entry and submit it to Schoology.